YouTube, and welcome to another exciting episode of Slotted In There. It's episode 8, and 8 is another special number as usual. In 8 in a Pythagorean numerology, if I can say the word, number 8 represents victory, prosperity, and overcoming. In music, there are 8 notes in the octonic scale, and if you think of technology and the number 8, you think of 8 bits to make up a byte. So let's take a giant bite of gaming and technology in this episode with the help of my colleagues, Tim and Damien.
Hello.
Oh, why are you a dog?
How are you guys this week? Are you feeling all right?
Yes, I am
Yes.
peachy.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you noticed, I felt a bit down and a bit off this week. I'm just feeling a little rough. Let's get on with the show.
Oh, why don't we let him get away with this?
We haven't got a choice.
We need to sit down with him and have a powwow is what we need.
And that's better. So this is part of a show where we look at the games we played this week. Hopefully there's something good that you'd want to play or recommend, or we're doing a good service because they're pretty rubbish and all that lot. But either way, it's a service, and that's what we're doing it. What have we been playing this week, gentlemen? Who'd like to go first?
Tim.
I'll go
Go on
first.
then, Tim.
Well, this week I have been going back into retro classics because I've got the Cinder light gun to play with. So I've been playing House of the Dead 2. The House of the Dead 2, a hark back to simpler times. Who doesn't love re-murdering the dead and standing in pools of green blood? In order to complete this game, you have to battle your way through Halls of the Dead whilst trying to save survivors along the way. That click sound you heard was 100% me not trying to shoot that guy in the head. Enjoy the complex, well-written dialogue. And of course, rescue those survivors again. Perfect.
There was nothing we could do.
The game is limited to just humanoid dead. You can enjoy killing dead frogs, dead worms, the creature from the Black Lagoon, I assume. The things that stick to walls that are really, really annoying to kill. And of course, owls. Better save them survivors. And then, of course, the boss fights. And who doesn't love a good boss fight? And we definitely don't all forget that we're supposed to shoot the little guy every time we play this. Now, this game was made possible with, of course, the use of a Cinder light gun. Otherwise, if you want to play it on original hardware, you will have to use a CRT monitor for it to work. But if you've got money to burn, and you like yourself some retro arcade shooters, then this is the game. Stupid owls. Just remember, though, to shoot those knives out of the air before they hit you in the face.
Well, I'm getting a bit worried about you, Tim, because you've gone from being mild-mannered and playing card games to now being ultra-violent and shooting lots of things. So, do you maybe need a bit of help?
Take that back. I'll kill you.
Case in point. But yeah, I think it's a very good game you played there, actually. Another enjoyable one. It's a shame you played the European version, isn't it, when you get the green blood, because we can't see the proper colour blood. It has to be alien blood, but,
We are European.
We are European. That's what that's down. The rest of the world got blood, lots of red blood. But it's a cracking game. What do you think, Damien?
I quite enjoyed it back in the day. Spent many a beer token playing the game in the arcades. Never had it on a home console, but always enjoyed it.
What's not to like? It's a great game.
Jolly good. I think we're off to a good start. And I'm from Tim, of all people. Oh, who'd have guessed? I know. Anyway. Shall I go next, or do you want to go next, Damien?
I'll go next because I took a leaf out of Tim's book and I played Solitaire. didn't really. I actually played Ghostbusters Remastered.
Are you troubled by strange noises in the night?
Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic?
Have you or your family actually seen a spook, specter, or ghost?
If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute.
Just pick up the phone and call the professionals.
Call the Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, the video game remastered. Saber Interactive sprinkled some magic with this. Stacked with the voices of the original movie cast and their in-game likeness, there is nothing better than busting ghosts alongside Ray, Peter, Winston and Egon. We also can't forget Janine either.
Ghostbusters. Is your haunting an apparition, poltergeist, phantasm, wraith, banshee, demon, spectre, tortured soul? What?
If you have fond nostalgia for the movie franchise, that does not include that mess from 2016, but the 1984 and 89 classics, then this game will be like wearing warm, comfy slippers. Set in New York City, you join the crew to hunt for various ghosts both old and new. Locating, wrangling and trapping them in various locations, some of them may be familiar if you've watched the movies. Complete with destruction physics, upgradable weapons and large-scale boss fights, I would say this game has everything to gyrate your giggleberries as a decent game.
Yeah, perfect.
It also adds to the franchise with its storyline. After all, it was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, the original scriptwriters from the good films. In my opinion, this is a great budget-priced single-player game that doesn't need a super-powered device to play it. Although, I think you will probably appreciate it more if you are a fan of the Ghostbusters. The graphics are great for a game that's 5 years old, and the controls are well presented too. If you enjoy a decent story-driven action-adventure game with that 80s movie feel, then I would suggest picking this up. Just remember, don't cross the streams.
Yeah, I've not seen this one before, Damien. I actually quite like the look of it. I'm a big fan of the original Ghostbuster films.
It's the way it's written, the way it plays, the humour that's in it, even the voice characters are the originals from the films. It's brilliant. If you like the original Ghostbusters, as in the 80s classic versions, it's one for the fans. It's absolutely brilliant. The gameplay is really good as well. Definitely worth the game.
Yeah, I was really impressed that they had the actual cast voicing the characters. That's awesome. I mean, if you need a dose of nostalgia, you get like a double whammy with that.
Absolutely brilliant game. Can't recommend it enough. If you like that type of game, go for it.
Jolly good. Excellent. And then I guess onto my game. And like I said to you at the start of the show, I've been feeling a bit off this week. So I just thought I'd go for a little drive in the country. Who doesn't like fast cars? Well, I do. I'm sure you do as well. And I've been playing Forza Horizon 4, where you get to play many fast cars, driving many different fast cars as you go along. It's a nice little simple game. It goes through the 4 seasons of the year. You start in summer, I believe, and then it goes to autumn and winter, etc. Or you could start it in autumn. I can't remember. You go through the 4 seasons, isn't it? And you progress. As you do so many races and then so many points, you then move on to a next season as you go along. And obviously it's a bit trickier because obviously if you're doing it in the winter, there's a lot of snow about, so it's a bit more skiddier. Whereas in the summer, it's obviously a lot nicer, but you might get blinded by the lights. All the cars have obviously different temperaments. I suppose it's really realistic if you're into your cars. I wouldn't know if there's certain ones, but some are harder to drive, some are others. So what I like about this, I don't know if it's a mode I was playing on, you can go and trash walls. Doesn't matter too much if you smash into them. It just slows you down a bit if you're doing a little bit of a race, but you're not crashed out like in a Formula 1 game. That's the end of it if you knock a tyre off, sort of thing. So that's quite a lot of fun. You can have lots of fun. It's based on the English countryside. I think it's supposed to be based around the Cotswolds and Glasgow, right next to each other. So you've got a bit of city vibe like that. But it's quite good. So it's nice just going around the country lanes, the British country lanes, and you've got different things like street races. You can do a bit of stunt work, you can do a bit of rallying, and lots of things, and you can just drive around and have a bit of fun. I liked rounding up sheep. That was quite fun. Saw some in the field, thought round them up. Why not? It's a bit of fun. There's also some other challenges in there. There's like a Top Gear challenge that I really enjoyed. And they have lots of fun things like, you've got to race across the beach, in your fastest time, or you've got to get a certain place in this really hard to drive car. And also you can race a hovercraft. That was quite fun. I enjoyed that. And another point, you race trains. So fun things like that. It's a fun little thing to pick up, this one, and yeah, I'd highly recommend it. I mean, obviously you've got the other Forza Horizons, but if you're a good old Brit and you want to see what lovely British countryside's like, yeah, I highly recommend it. Have a little bit of a drive in the country. It'll do you good. Calm you right down.
I don't actually think I ever played Forza Horizon 4. I have played a bit of 5 and a little bit of Forza Motorsport. So what I mean, looking at it, they look like they are fundamentally very similar games, but just in a well, certainly a slightly less exotic location than maybe Forza Horizon 5. I think that's South America, isn't it?
Are you slagging off Britain now? It's lovely, the countryside there. You have little, walls, or little walls as you go along, little
I'm
pathways.
not slagging it off. All I'm saying is it's less exotic.
Can't believe it. Lots of people come over to our country because we have such a nice country, Tim. And I think this is such a, advertising our beautiful countryside, even though it might be
Welcome
wrong.
to
But,
England, a fabulous
get the
place to
idea.
live.
Come over. And there's lots of rain in it as well. It's very realistic in places if you want. You go through the different seasons.
Yeah, it's sort of still drizzling out there as we speak.
Yep, see, that's realism in games. That's what you want.
Does it rain constantly in the game as well?
Well, it does when you get to winter or autumn or spring, maybe a bit of summer. But yeah. pretty much. But it's a good one to play because I noticed that by the end of the year, they're taking it off for services. They're shutting down the actual online part of it, so you don't have a single part,
Oh,
and you
wow.
won't be able to get it. Obviously, unless you buy a physical one. So it's sort of going a bit cheap if you get in the sales. If you want the DLC, you can only buy it now in the Ultimate Editions. You can't buy it separately. But I bought it on a cheap deal, and that's why I thought I'd play it. And it's just a bit of fun, even if you have the one-player part of it when they actually shut it off. But if you want to play online with your mates, make sure you go and buy a copy and have a couple of months of enjoyment before it goes offline forever. So it's What the Tech. It's that part of the show where we look at some technology from the past or the present that's been so good, it's amazing. You'll probably want it in your life, or you need it in your life, or you have needed it in your life if it's from the past, but it's very good. Gentlemen, are you ready to see this week's What the Tech?
Baby.
I think I'm ready. I've got my big boy pants on, so let's try this one.
Let's have a look then. What do you think of that?
I'm going to assume the position.
It's a cog of some description.
Yeah, it's a cog with one of the rocker ratchet mechanisms on it.
Ooh, we've gone very technical to start with, haven't we?
Yeah, it stops it going backwards. You can only move one way.
Any ideas what it could be from before I give you some options?
I've got an idea.
He's got an idea. Go on then, Tim. Let's spoil the game straight away.
It could be a clock or a watch close up. That's what I'm thinking.
Drinking any thoughts, Damien?
Do you remember those like Subutia toys where you had like little characters that you'd play football with? Some of them that obviously weren't Subutia because that was specific. But some of them had like a kicking motion or a running motion that they would do. I'm wondering if that's part of it.
This is a very good idea. But let's see what options it could be. So, is it the one bolt that holds a helicopter's rotor together? Is it part of the gears that control the striking mechanism in London's clock tower Big Ben? Or is it C, part of a large cake cutter that helped make the shape of the world's largest cake?
I think you know what I'm picking.
You're going for the largest cake, aren't you?
Always, I love a large piece of cake, as is evidenced.
I'll just point out that Big Ben is it's the bell.
Well,
Just saying.
Yeah, but it's the gears that make up the control of the striking mechanism in
I
London's
mean,
clock tower.
I'll give
Big
you
Ben.
that. You know,
So,
but
yeah. But it
is
is.
it part
It
of
is.
Big Ben?
plot-
Is it part of Big Ben?
Well, I'm just going B. I'm going with my gut instinct. That's what that looks like to me. So yeah, Big Ben.
You're going. It's Big Ben. What do you think, Damien?
I actually agree with Tim. I think that is something of that ilk. But I also want to go with. No, I'm gonna stay with it being part of the striking mechanism.
Fair enough.
Because
Then.
that's
We're both going
logical
to
for
some
that.
part of Big Ben, if not described correctly in the actual quote. Question mark. Okay, so we're going with B. Let's see. The answer is it's A. It's the one bolt that holds a helicopter's rotor together.
Damn it!
And this is a very extraordinary piece of tech because it is literally called the Jesus nut because it's the bolt that's right on the top. Because you can imagine what you'd be saying if that one bolt came off and your rotor came off.
I wouldn't be on about Jesus nutting.
Well, other religions are available, but quite a lot of people start talking about Jesus.
I'm the
So yeah,
BBC.
but as you can see, it's a very important bolt. It's like I say, it's the one most important bolt, and that's why I thought, what a great bit of tech. Basically, one bolt holding your whole helicopter together, or causing you to die.
I was utterly convinced that was part of a clock.
I know.
To be fair,
That little sort of rocking mechanism that allows a second hand to tick, and that little rocker was, yeah, I would not have pinned that as a part of a helicopter.
And I've done my job correctly because that was part of deception. But hey,
well done,
well
Tim.
done for me.
Well played.
That was
Okay.
yeah. I don't want to get in a helicopter again.
No.
And well played to any of our viewers.
Make sure you got a spare Jesus bolt. Not really enough time to fit it if your rotor comes off, but might make you feel better. And that was What the Tech this week. Hey!
Yay!
So, gentlemen, the discussion for this week is we're looking at if you were building a new PC, what CPU would you go for at the current climate? Would you go for your AMD? Would you go for an Intel? Or is there another option you would go for? Now, I'm going to let you two take a big discussion on this because, as you know, I'm a console gamer in the team, and I'm not very good at this. Well, you two PC gamers, you'll know a little bit more. So, off you go.
Right. Well, as you're a console gamer currently, then you'd be on AMD.
I mean, to be fair, I'd go with AMD anyway. And my new PC I bought, I went with a Ryzen because I wanted the integrated graphics to start with. And when I built my son's PC, I had the integrated graphics, which you don't really get in the Intel, I believe.
You're just starting to now.
You're just starting to now. So that's the reason I went for the Ryzen because it was a nice cheap option in that. But yeah, so I can add that to the discussion. Hooray! I contributed. But
well, I think you made actually a very good point, though. Is the Ryzen APUs are light years ahead of what Intel are putting out currently, and Intel have only just started to release the Intel Ultra chips, which include an Intel Arc iGPU on the CPU die. And at the moment, we know one thing about Intel Arc is that it's not terribly well optimized. So yeah, AMD all the way for that kind of thing. Damien, I can see you tensing up.
Have a counter argument, Damien, or it's a short discussion.
The issue is you have to decide what you're wanting to build. Is it a budget machine that needs to do a bit of everything? Is it a machine you want to just purely game on? Or is it a machine that you want to do different additional things with, such as creativity, more than just basically playing games, creating videos for YouTube or something else? One chip is particularly better than the other for certain things. So if you're going to do something that's based on productivity, art, and that kind of thing, sad to say, you would sort of sidestep the AMD and go for the Intel. Obviously, not the 13th or 14th gen, because don't know what Intel have done badly there, but both of those chips are a bit pants.
Not all of
If
them
you're
are
going,
affected.
there is an issue between the actual chip and certain brand motherboards that does actually boost the issue. So it is.
Yeah,
Even Intel have notified everybody of this being an issue, but they're doing nothing about it.
There are two faults currently. One is with stability, and that seems to be affecting typically the higher end chips, and the other is with the can't get my words out, oxidization problem, and that seems to be affecting a lot of them across that range, the 13th and 14th gens. But the instability stuff, and I don't know about the oxidization, but with the instability stuff, because I have a 14th gen i5 in a server downstairs. Unfortunately, that one isn't affected by the instability issue. I don't know about the oxidization issue yet, but time will tell. I'll get back to you.
And for some reason, they're higher consumption on wattage. They overheat a lot more rapidly, so you need better cooling for the Intels.
Way better, especially if you're going for something like the 14900K, which is virtually impossible to cool from my understanding.
Yeah, to be fair, if you're going to buy Intel, you'd stay 13th and ignore, well, say 13th. You'd stay on the 13th gen, not touch the 14th, because you get very little difference between 13 and 14 other than a hotter machine and maybe a few hertz faster. But if you're going gaming, there's only one to go for. That's your AMD. Can't be touched, can't be. There's no other chip close enough to it. And really, there's no other chips on the market at the minute unless you go ARM. Although I think NVIDIA are coming forward with something that might be a little bit special.
Yeah, well, I have seen some stuff about the new sort of Snapdragon laptops, and they seem to be pretty good. I mean, there's some compatibility stuff going on at the moment, but that's stuff that may get ironed out over time. So they're kind of an interesting option at the moment, especially for things like gaming. But yeah, going back to the Ryzen thing. Yeah, AMD are light years ahead, and plus you've got things like the 7800 X3D, 7900 X3D, and 7950 X3D, and those chips with the extra 3DV cache makes a significant difference in some games. It should be said, not all games rely on that, but in some games it can give you a reasonable bump in frames per second. So yeah, for gaming, AMD all day long. I run an AMD rig, and that's what we're doing this on at the moment.
The other caveat there is also if you're using Windows 10, you get higher frames per second over Windows 11 with an AMD. There is something to do with the branch management in Windows that does not favor the AMD processor. So that's actually doing a lot more to match or equal to frame development that it can do in comparison to the Intel. So when Microsoft finally sort that side of things out, we should see a little bit more, like a huge boost, especially on some of the older Ryzen AMDs. They're going to be instantly faster once it's been patched and fixed. The alternative is go Linux. If you go Linux, that thing is a performance beast if you're using an AMD. The only issue is now, if you're using Linux to play any of your Windows-based games, a prime candidate is GTA 5. If you're using Linux, wanting to play that, you can't play it online anymore because they've put anti-cheat in there, and Linux does not play well with the anti-cheat, or the anti-cheat doesn't play well with Linux.
Cool. So when I was buying mine and looking into getting a new desktop, obviously for doing YouTube and all that, a bit of gaming, people did want to buy the Intel though. So there was the option, obviously, to buy the Intel with some like lovely graphics cards. So why would you go Intel? Is my question for what we've just discussed.
Well, you'd go Intel if you wanted to do multi-threading of different pieces. Multi-core. Well, actually, it's better single core is the Intel than the AMD. So if you're doing anything that's single core, kind of intensive, the Intel will walk away with it. It's when it comes to multi-threading where the AMD comes into its own. But again, it's also matching it up with a decent graphics card. If you're not going to use the inbuilt Ryzen capabilities and you want to put a discrete card in there, NVIDIA or one of AMD's cards, or even the Intel graphics cards, pairing them up to the right one so you don't get bottlenecking is also an important part of it. So, yeah. Still think I'd go AMD, though, for now.
So in conclusion, I think we're all like, we're going for AMD, and, are we calling everyone an idiot if they have Intel, or no?
It's horses for courses.
Horses for courses. Let's not be that dramatic, but I wanted a bit
Basically,
of drama,
There are a few very good reasons to have things like Intel, especially when it comes to things like video editing, or if you have like a media server and you need to be able to do transcoding, because Intel QuickSync is particularly good for that kind of thing. Whereas AMD, although good, is not quite on the same. Like QuickSync's been developed over such a long period of time now. It's pretty amazing what it can do. However, that said, I have been doing a lot of editing on one of my little mini PCs, which has a Ryzen 7945HS or something like that, I forget, which has one of the new, well, I say new, it's not new now, because they're bringing out newer ones, but it's got a 780M GPU on it, and that's great for doing things like video editing. It does AV1 and all sorts. It's surprisingly good. So I don't want to poo-poo AMD on things like video editing, but yeah, QuickSync does do some amazing stuff.
So then, building a new PC, what are we going to recommend as a final conclusion then, gentlemen?
Bang for buck, AMD.
Yeah, especially as well for budget and thermals, and I was going to say power. Yeah, I was going to say power consumption.
Currently, AMD good, Intel not so what they were, but again, it'll flip in another generation, and it'll be Intel will be the best, and AMD won't. So, but currently, in my opinion, AMD. If you bang for the buck, it's cheap, it's chips. You're gonna get more for your money, AMD. But it's what your budget, whatever your budget fits. Pick what's best for you.
Sound advice.
Yeah. Consumer advice.
Consumer advice. Yeah.
I think that might be a first.
Hey.
Wow.
Try our best.
It's your letters. It's your letters. It's your letters. It's your letters.
Now we have our viewers' letters section, where we get to make a decision for one of our viewers based on whatever letter they've decided to write us this week. So, Damien, over to you.
Some say he can play hide and seek with himself and still win. Others say he can find the end of a circle. All we know is he's the Gamesmeister.
Hello boys. What an introduction. Thank you very much. Most appreciated. And now, on to this week's letter. And this week's letter involves animal welfare and whether our viewer should stay with her team or not. Let's get into the letter. Subject: seeking advice on workplace challenges and animal care. Dear Slotted in their team, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Chitara, and I've been a long-time viewer of your channel. Today, I'm reaching out for some guidance regarding a difficult situation I find myself in. As an animal lover from birth, I've always been drawn to opportunities that allow me to care for and connect with animals. For many years now, I've been working with a family business that looks after a group of royal animals. Recently, our team relocated to a new area, and we've been busy setting up our base of operations while also working to improve the local wildlife habitat. However, I've encountered some challenges within our team. Younger colleagues have started to gossip about me, labelling me as someone who runs away from problems. Their comments hurt, especially since they don't realise that they're the ones talking behind my back. Despite their lack of productivity and tendency to cause issues, they seem to be favoured by the company and always manage to land on their feet. As a senior team member, I expected more support from the higher-ups, but my boss, whom everybody affectionately calls Lion-O, has been disappointing. He struts around in shorts, barely covering his top, and often behaves like a spoiled child. It's frustrating to witness his favouritism towards the troublemakers while ignoring my dedication and hard work. So, here's my dilemma. Should I seek a new team? One that shares my passion for animal care, perhaps working with fellow dog lovers, or should I stay and address the toxic environment by pursuing a sexual harassment case against my employer? I value your insights and would appreciate any advice you can offer. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read my message. Warmest regards, Chitara. So, an interesting dilemma, boys. What do you think of that? Should our viewer continue on with her current employer and team, or should she look for pastures new? What do you think? This week, it will be Damien who will be deciding the viewer's fate. Damien, you will be playing the game Galaga. First released in 1981 by Namco as an arcade machine. The version you will be playing has been reproduced by Bandai Namco on the Steam platform on the PC. And your challenge is to finish level 1 with just 1 life. Go!
So that's a brilliant predicament as Shitara finds herself in there. But also, we're going to try and help her out here. So, gentlemen, what do you think? Should she go onto a new team, spread that passion that she clearly has for animals, and maybe spread out for, work with dogs? Or should she stay where she is and say no to these young people being horrible behind her back and, maybe take them to court, and pursue, sexual harassment or anything because it's a toxic environment? What do we think, gentlemen?
Well, what I would suggest is basically just get away from it. Don't let it bother your life any further. Move on to something you're passionate about, and be with new cool kids that aren't toxic. Yeah, man.
What do you think, Tim?
You've got to fight this toxic kind of mentality. There's no place for it. No place for it in society. Get rid of them. Do something about it.
Well, yeah, I
That's what I
feel
say.
exactly the same. She's worked there for years, working hard, dedicated one. Then these young whippersnappers have come in, talking about her back. It ain't on. It ain't cool. So yeah, should stay there. Fight. Girl power.
Mental health. How much drain is it going to take from her to just cope and put up with until it's resolved? Just move on to better things.
Well, anyway, it's your choice, Damien, because you're doing the challenge. So you're pretty much telling her to go off to fresh pastures.
Absolutely.
Give them that. So, well, that means you have to win the task. So let's see how you got on.
So far, so good. Need to get rid of the big ones at the top. There we go. They're not going to rob my spaceship. I prefer Space Invaders. It's a lot easier. Oh no! Got ya. One left. Can't be that hard. Oof. Where are you? Boom. Like that. We've absolutely nailed it. Was it a flea? I think not, baby puppy. Temptation to get sucked into that. Boom! That's stage 2 done as well. Boom! So, moving on. Back to you guys.
Well, I must say you made that look very easy there, Damien.
Ah, it was. It's one of my favourite games from my childhood. Obviously, when the kind of choice for the game was doled out, somebody didn't look too far into history, so loved it.
I mean, that's Gamesmeister not doing his job very well, really, isn't it? But
It's not often we get to beat the Gamesmeister at his own game, but today is the day.
yeah, well, anyway, we made a decision, and that was the important thing. So, Shitara, forget about those young whippersnappers. Go off, go to pastures new, and go and work with some other animals because you love animals, and that's the main thing, isn't it? Looking after the little animals, whether they're cats, dogs, mice, or llamas.
Just do it.
Solving the world's problems one game at a time.
Do it now. So that's the end of the show. I hope you really enjoyed it. As always, we've helped some people out. We've helped you all out, haven't we, by telling you about some good games, hopefully. Had a lovely discussion about telling you what PC you should buy. And, of course, we helped Shitara out at the end. So we've done lots of good services, as always. And we should all feel very good about that and warm inside, I feel. If you like this sort of content, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Scroll down to the comments section and let us know your thoughts.
And tickle the bell so you're reminded about any future uploads and notifications.
Jolly good. And as always, we'd like to end the show with a sort of inspirational quote. And I moved away from some technology people, but there just need to be inspiring quotes, don't they, at the end of the day? And basically, we got it from Ian McKellen. I think it's Sir Ian McKellen now, actually. Very famous thespian actor. You'll know him from being Magneto in the X-Men. And also Gandalf, of course, which is very wise. Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. So he's got some very wise words. And here they are. I'm brilliant at cooking my stepmother's scrambled egg recipe. The secret is to put eggs, butter, milk, and seasoning together in the saucepan and to keep it stirring with a wooden spoon until a low heat until the preferred consistency is reached. And on that blue screen of death, it's time to end the show. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I get more confused with these each week.
I'm lost.
But thanks.